hope you got your shitting pants on.
Because you are about to shit your pants.
Here we go.
Welcome to The Big Picture. I am Michael Sargent. I host this sucker. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. First thing, I want to talk to you about photography and marketing and pricing. Okay? Here's the bottom line. We all struggle with this, and a lot of times photographers will bring in extras to help. They'll hire a marketing firm, or they will hire, a copywriter, variety of different things. But I'm going to point out a few things that might help you get a little better at what you do. And first and foremost is the About Me page on your website. I recently redid mine, and the structure of it is basically it's to cater to you, the client. And the points on that About Me page are basically to show people what I offer as a photographer, and the reasons why you should choose me as a photographer. But it also goes into more detail, and it tells you about what I want from you. The bottom line, and at the end of every day, you're a service-based industry, and you have to have clients. And if you don't have clients, or you're not listening to what your clients want, then you're not doing a very good business. So think about that when you're doing the About Me page. Think about what you can offer people and how you like to work with people. The bottom line with it is you have to understand your client's needs, and you have to deliver on those needs. If you can do that, well, then you're ahead of the game. All right. Number two, I think it's worth mentioning at this stage that pricing is huge. I'm often criticized because realistically I am sometimes considered expensive. But tell me any photographer who is worth their salt isn't. I mean, we don't get into this for free. We don't just go around and spend thousands of dollars on camera equipment and education and go to seminars and workshops so we can sit there and just go take pictures of our friends and family. Okay? That's not why we do this. Well, some of us might, but I know I don't. For example, I'm going to give you a philosophy here. My pricing is structured basically to accomplish a couple of different things. And one of the things it's meant to accomplish is I don't want to work with everybody. I have an ideal client. There's people that I like to work with. And I'll be honest, there are people that I don't like to work with. But as a business, you have to kind of protect yourself in the sense of understanding that you are in business to make a profit, or the hopes would be to make a profit. I personally, I have my pricing structured for one reason only. It is essentially to offer clients an affordable package. I think that's kind of important, especially when you're working with individuals and based on your demographics and the market and how saturated it is with photographers. You have to have an option for people to choose you. Oftentimes is the case, and this is my philosophy with this anymore. Nothing is going to be free. You can't do anything for free and then expect to be successful with your business. Case in point, I have what I like to refer to as a mini session. And whether the definition of mini session coincides with what I do as a photographer, it's basically irrelevant in my mind's eye, because first off, I have to do what works for me. So to break it down a little bit, I decided that I would do a 45-minute session, which I could extend to 1 hour if need be, and I charge $200 for the session. I think that's fairly reasonable. Some people do not. They think that, they should pay a quarter for a photo shoot. Well, it's not going to happen. And at the end of the day, you have your pricing. So let me lay this out so it's clear. I charge $200 for a session, a 45-minute session, and I'm willing to travel to 2 locations within reason, especially if they're outside shoots. If it's a studio shoot, well, then it's a studio shoot. We could travel somewhere close to do a outside scene, but for the most part, these mini sessions, they're generally done outside, and I have it structured where it's going to be, profitable for me. It's not worth me getting out the camera gear, the lenses, and the setting all up and doing things that I do for nothing. You're not in this to work a minimum wage job. You're in this to actually make a profit. So, the next thing that I've changed with my business structure is the digital files. I have a website, www.msargentphoto.com, and I put the client galleries on that website. Now, all the photos that we took, or the ones that are deemed good enough that actually show the client in a very flattering pose, those images go into that gallery. And what happens is, and this is the way that I've had to structure this now, people have an option. They can purchase the digital file, and if they do purchase that digital file, they own it. They can do whatever they want with it at that point. If they want to go get it printed at Walmart or Snapfish or wherever, they can do that. They have downloaded and paid for the digital file. I think that the better option is to use the professional print lab services that we have available on our site if they want prints. The reason I suggest that to many of my clients is basically because the files are always there and they can choose to purchase them at any time if they want to have the digital file. But the quality of prints that the labs that I partner with can produce, they're outstanding. I mean, it's incredible how wonderful these images come out. So that's why I kind of push that. And the print lab, of course, they make a little bit on the sale of the photograph. I make a little bit on the sale of the photograph, and believe me, the way I have it structured, it's not a total high price markup. I'm not going to say that they're cheap, but I can say that it is affordable. And the option here is where it's wonderful is you can choose to do this at any time because your photos are always there. So you have your options. But for me, the way that I had to look at things was to run a business and stay profitable with that business. I had to restructure some of the things that I did. So those are just a couple of things that I decided that I would do to further, my long-term financial stability as a photographer and as a business or brand. So here's the way this kind of works out. You give your clients, you connect with them on a personal level, and you explain the structure to them so they understand that this is how your business works. They can either choose to book with you or they can choose to book with someone else. That's a chance I'm willing to take, first and foremost because I do not like to work with individuals that feel that my investments, my talents are only worth they don't get to dictate what my talents are worth. I do that, okay? And I said it once before in a older show that I was recently, consulting a couple about a wedding, and they wanted me to do the wedding for like $200. And the amount of work that goes into the entire process with the wedding just wasn't a good fit for me. I couldn't sit there and say, okay, I'll photograph your wedding for 8 hours and charge you $200 and have to put, let's put it this way. If I had to do 20 hours of editing or 40 hours of editing and invest 48 hours of my time into, their wedding, you think about that for a second. What would I actually have made for the $200 that they felt they should be paying for the service? It didn't make any sense, and it wouldn't work. It's like I said, I'm not here to do this as a favor. I'm here to do this to make a profit. So I pointed out to the couple, and maybe this wasn't the best call. Excuse me. I said, it's amazing to me. You people are basically, you're begging me to do this wedding for you for $200. And what I want to point out to you is you feel that that's, a reasonable price. Meanwhile, as I sit here and talk to you about your wedding and trying to understand your needs, I'm investing my time in you. I'm not being paid for that consultation, which is something that I should be, but I'm not. So meanwhile, while you feel that, a $200 wedding is reasonable, honestly, I can tell you right out that for $200 you will get an hour of my time. That's it. The clients weren't overly happy about that, and I told them, amazing enough, I'm sitting here at this table with you guys, and I see you have a brand new cell phone that I recently looked at myself, and that phone is well over $700, which is crazy. Well, it's fucking crazy considering it's a cell phone and it costs $10 to manufacture. The bride was sitting there with a brand new iPhone, which we all know what they cost. And I'm thinking, okay, you guys would pay $2,000 for cell phones, but you're only willing to pay $200 for a wedding. What's wrong with that picture? So the big picture with all this is, sometimes as a photographer, you have to know when to walk away from a client. You have to be able to say, I'm sorry, but I can't help you at this time. It's all about pricing and structure. And when you have clients that want to not pay you for all the investments that you've made to become a professional photographer, then you need to understand that those are not what is considered your ideal clients, and you need to walk away. All right. Now that I have that out, we're going to take a little break. I'll be right back. Okay, so let me disclose this. The first segment in the show where I talked about marketing, it was actually recorded in a off-studio location, largely in part because I'm so damn busy that I had to produce the show or put things together, and I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that I've been doing. So, some pretty good stuff in there, and all you really need to do at this point is just basically take a look or listen to what I said and, just expand on it a little bit with, your own particular brand, I guess, is the word I'm looking for here. You can basically do anything that you want as long, especially in the service industry, as long as you are client focused. Okay? It's pretty important, and you always have to remember that you are in a service industry. So to further expand on it, I do need to say this, that in my mind and my experience, I've learned that it is far better to be someone's shot of whiskey versus everybody's cup of tea. I hope that makes sense to people, because I figured that, when you're going through the motions of booking clients and telling them how your business operates or what you do as a business owner, or in particular a photographer, I think it's pretty fucking important to be upfront and be honest and be who you are. Like I said, not everybody is going to hire you. That's probably a good thing, because if they don't want to hire you, they may not have been what is known as your ideal client. And in this industry, you want to work with ideal clients. I learned a long time ago that you just can't work with everybody. And once you realize that and stop worrying about what everybody else is doing, some pretty amazing things start to happen. As stated, I made the switch about a year ago, maybe a little longer than a year ago, where I started to phase out some of the everyday photography and started doing more of my sports interests, photography, and the headshots. And it's made a huge difference for me. So basically what I'm saying here is, have your specialty. Back in the day, my specialty was not having a specialty. But if you want to increase your odds of success as a photographer, there are certain things that you are just simply going to have to do and start paying attention to your market, your strengths. Play off of your strengths, people. Okay? So this segment I'm actually recording in studio, largely in part because it's much easier for me to do it here. But like I said, with what I was doing earlier today when I decided to put this show together, it was basically, it's been busy. And I've had a lot of stuff shoved down my throat here lately, and it's not something that I'm particularly happy about. I'm not wired that way. I'm not geared that way.
I'm not kidding. I got a crap on deck that could choke a donkey.
So, you get this stuff shoved down your throat all the time. And, it's rough, but you do what you got to do, right? And then you persevere and you continue to push forward your agenda. And people, don't worry about what anybody else says or does. Remember, you're not asking them.
I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
All right. I mean, don't worry about it anymore. It's not worth focusing negative attention on something positive that you're building. Okay? So, look, I don't have too much for you this week, which is probably a blessing in disguise. But I am going to say this. Social fucking media, all right? It's a huge part of what we do, what we say. I see a lot of stuff. You know, there's certain things from friends that they post that drive me up the wall. Like, you know, they leave a little something like a fish hook, you know, a worm out there hoping people ask or bite, and I don't like that. What I will come out and say, as far as disclosing, I don't understand why some people are wired to just want to cause problems or say things that they know nothing about. It happens all the time, and this is the hard part with not letting things get to you. You see things that are directly related to you that are absolutely not the truth. You know, they are flat out bold-faced lies. So what do you do about that? Well, you got one of two choices. You can go to the whiskey cabinet and have a couple of shots, and depending on how that goes, you either, you know, call them out and get into an argument, or you mellow out and just say, fuck it, who cares? All right. Me, I could go either way. It's just, you know, that's just how I'm wired. But I don't really drink, so I guess at the end of the day, you know, you have to just let a little time pass and not let it bother you. I could, but you know what? I'm not going to do it. So, with all that being said, I'm trying to hook up something special for you guys next week and bring in a guest and maybe do a little interview and show you some chops there. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. It just depends on you know, people's time schedules and what we can do. We're hoping. I'm hoping that you guys are enjoying the show, and I'm glad you know people are listening. I want to thank everybody for listening. I think it's pretty cool that, you know, just a country bumpkin like me can, you know, have his own show and have it all over the internet and have it picked up on, and, you know, constantly getting emails inquiring about the show and possibly doing some advertising, which, you know, this is pretty cool, people. It's pretty cool. So, with all that said, I don't really have much more to cover this week. You know, just wanted to thank everybody for listening. Thanks everybody for the support. And, I'll tell you something I'm thinking about doing. I've got something in the works where we may do a Facebook live video, of an actual photo shoot that I'm about to get involved with. It's something I've been thinking about doing for a while, but I don't necessarily want the video to come up as, just a standard crappy portrait session. I'm looking to go, you know, all Mike and do one of his sports portraits. And, you know, if we do this, you're actually going to see how we put all this together. So, let's see if that kind of happens. All right. So that's all I got. I'm Michael Sargent, and you are listening to The Big Picture with me, Michael Sargent. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Like the gun of the whip, I snap attack, front to back, in this thing called rap. Nigga like a double rhyme, double on a heavily level, bang the bass, turn up the double, radical mind day and night all the time, 714, wise, divine, maniac, radiac, winning the game, I'm the lyrical Jesse James. Quality, I possess, some say I'm fresh, when my voice goes through the mesh of the microphone that I am holding. Copywritten lyrics so they can't be stolen if they all snap. Don't need the police to try to save them, your voice will sing. So peace, stay off my back, or I will attack, and you don't want that.